As our guests Don and Dondi were explaining, the different details of the uniforms, that of the Japanese and the American Army. It's interesting. That means that you do a lot of research, and you do go looking for all these artifacts, all these. Yeah. How do you find them?
For starters, some of this would be original, and they've been passed on through friends of friends, and eventually end up with us, either through purchase or through trade. This helmet, for example, is an original that we dug out and restored and put a new liner in it. And the leather pouches, we ordered them online.
Oh, all right.
Now, and the rest of the uniform, we are lucky in that we could find the same exact fabric in Divisoria and in Kamuning, and we have the double luck of finding through the internet how these things were cut. So we have the patterns, we also have the fabric, and it made complete sense for us to make our own eventually. So it's a combination of original, reproduction, and online purchase.
Okay, yeah. That's interesting. I mean, well, I'm sure you have a big collection of whatnots.
Fairly.
One of the episodes in recent history that we can thank for the explosion in especially World War II in historical reenactment is the movie Saving Private Ryan. No. Because after Steven Spielberg when Steven Spielberg produced that movie, he wanted 100% historical accuracy. So everything there was not just, you can't get enough historical artifacts to dress all those people. So he had everything made from scratch using original fabrics and original patterns. And what that sparked was an interest now globally in the global community in collecting and performing historical reenactment. What we do here is just a small portion of what goes on out there. If you go to the US, you'll find many groups that do historical reenactment, ranging from early colonial, Civil War, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea. Maybe it's too soon to do Iraq, but you have people who collect gear like this, and a lot of companies in China do nothing but produce replica uniforms, helmets, belts, pistols, boots, just to feed this global interest. You can go on eBay and look for you can find German helmets reproduction. You can find Japanese gear reproduction. You can get all kinds of American gear reproduction from that period. Just for World War II alone, there's a huge interest in reenactment and in collecting.
And all these details.
Yes,
no?
yes.
Interesting.
In my case, it's a mix of all, just like Don's. This shirt, I got this on eBay. I think this is late 1940s or early 1950s vintage. The pants, believe it or not, are Dockers. Okay. But these are, I researched online, and they're cut exactly the same way as the uniforms of World War II. In fact, pants now, the fashionable way to wear them is low, kind of low waist, right? But these are high cut,
yes.
which is odd, but it's perfect for that period. The boots are Chinese reproductions. I got these from eBay. The leggings are genuine U.S. surplus. These suspenders are reproduction again from China, but this belt is a genuine U.S. artifact. As is this pouch. The canteen, of course, is beat up and full of holes, but that's genuine.
All right. So, if the originals would cost,
thanks to movies,
good amount of.
Thanks to movies like Private Ryan, Saving Private Ryan, and the TV series Band of Brothers, original World War II equipment has just gone through the roof. The value.
Okay, so maybe we could advise our viewers to go through the baols of their lolos.
Oh yes, yes.
And make money out of it for those who are really into history.
It is kind of sad. Like Bob Hudson was just telling us that he found out that someone had dug up a helmet like this, and they were using it as a water dish for the dog until the helmet completely rusted away. Today, if you find a helmet like this in fairly good shape, I mean, if it's original World War II, it could fetch thousands of dollars on eBay. And that's just how collectors are.
All right.
And it also falls on, well, back in the day, after the war, you had a whole lot of these things laying around.
Yes.
So there was a really big surplus of it. People would be turning it into flower pots or
Shaving basins.
Yeah.
whatever they
Right.
put it to good use.
I'm sure, right, after the Vietnam War, there were a lot of this surplus, in Subic Bay, I mean, outside the bases, like
Tons,
Clark, and
yes,
but I think they're all gone now, no?
Well, if you would get a whole set of that, that costs about, what, $2,000 for
Yeah.
just one whole rig?
Yeah.
It got expensive.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is you have these interest in World War II movies, and folk finally find out that, hey, look, this is what my grandfather wore, right? What do I look like in it, right? The fun part, at least in our group, is that everyone has a personal or family link with the war. So we kind of share that with our grandparents, and we decided that, yeah, I mean, it's been 70 years, so why not?
Yeah, 70 years, yeah.
And,
And, all right, I think, the interest that you generate in what you're doing is a big contribution also to people like us that would like to know more. You have to kindle also the fires of, curiosity or, interest in our history.
yes, we do. Matter of fact, the only reason why I got into wearing the Japanese Army outfit is because there was one reenactment around Mount Samat in Bataan where they were marching in full use of the uniform, and the audience would say, "Oh, here come the Japanese." So they would be taking the actual our side, for example, as Japanese. So we just our part of the crew decided, yeah, you know what? Next time we show up in here with a Japanese uniform, so people would know the distinction between Japanese and
Yes.
Allies, for
All right.
example.
Interesting. So let's say there are viewers out there who would like to participate or know more. You have your Facebook page, right?
Yeah.
And it's called the Philippine Living History Society.
Yes.
Yes.
So they just log on to that.
Yes.
Philippine Living History Society.
We have, aside from photos of previous reenactments, you can actually watch videos of the past ones we've done. We've had a couple already in Bataan, the actual towns and the actual sites where the battles took place. But we also did a couple of reenactments at Fort Bonifacio at Hunters.
Yeah.
ROTC.
There's ROTC,
Yeah, Hunters
and
ROTC
the headquarters over
Yeah,
at Philippine Army.
And we also participate in a number of Armed Forces of the Philippines festivals and events.
And normally when you reenact a certain scene, how many are you? How many are you in the group?
Well, it could be from as few as 5 people to a whole crowd of 50. And there are certain parts where we actually coordinate with a club of vehicle restoration hobbyists who bring in World War II Jeeps and other vehicles.
Oh, all right.
So we get help from them, and depending on the scale, well, it could go through up to 100 people if it was that big.
Okay. So when you say reenactment, what scenes do you portray, or the roles that you played?
Well, yesterday was Balanga. We portrayed the Battle of the Battle of the Pockets in Balanga. So on my end, I had to portray a Japanese NCO. I carried around a sword, for example.
A samurai sword?
Yes, a samurai sword and a pistol. Right? Those are the things I can't carry on right now. I mean, they're a bit awkward to carry around. I had in my command, for example, a couple dozen guys who were
With bayonets?
with bayonets and rifles.
Yeah.
For the Allied side, that would have a whole lot more variety to them because you have the U.S. Army and their component Philippine Scouts, and you have the Philippine Army and the Philippine Army recruits at that time, and these are different uniforms altogether, and they make a whole lot, they make a good, interesting scene altogether.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, some of the it's sometimes interesting to note that although Bataan is seen as a military defeat, we celebrate it as a military defeat. But in reality, if you look at the individual battles that were fought, like the Battle of the Pockets, or the what was the other one?
Abukay.
Abukay. They were small tactical victories for the Philippine and American forces. The key reason why Philippine forces lost, why the USFA forces lost, was that we just ran out of food and ammunition,
and medicine.
No reinforcements.
No reinforcements. But otherwise, we held off the Japanese advance far beyond the original timetable for the conquest of the Philippines. So in that sense, our defeat spelled long-term defeat for the Japanese.
Yeah, well, it was, like you said, a military defeat, but I think it was a victory of our fighting spirit, of our valor, the valor of our soldiers.
There's that. But also from a long-term strategic standpoint, it held down the Japanese forces long enough so that MacArthur was able to escape. The U.S. was able to build up its resources elsewhere, and it tied down a number of Japanese troops and resources they could have used to conquer, to go all the way to Australia. Actually, there are some historians who would say that the invasion of Australia never happened because the Japanese were busy trying
to conquer
us.
Yeah. Well, there's such a. I'm so honored to have you guys here on the show. Yeah, and probably you could also, guest here again and share more of what you can to everybody.
We would.
So at this point, I'd like to thank you both for coming and sharing.
Been a pleasure.
Yes.
All right, stay with us. We'll have a short break and another set of guests.